looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
お前が裏切った時、その首輪が爆発し、お前は死ぬ。
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Chikyuu Sentai Fiveman!
What's up everyone, Kaiju no Kami here, and today I'm going to review Soda's Swan Song Sentai series, Chikyuu Sentai Fiveman from 1990. Chikyuu Sentai Fiveman became Hirohisa Soda's final series as a head writer as he wanted to move on to other projects. The show was originally slated to be called Brother Man or Vector Man. I liked that video game. Oh wait, that's not the same Vector Man. Now I gotta wonder, if this show had actually been called Vector Man, what would that video game have been called instead? I wonder. Well, it doesn't matter. As we all know, the show ended up being called Fiveman. It was also the first show since Go-Go 5 to have the Blue Ranger be second in command of the Ranger team. Other than that, nothing is really known about the show outside of the assumptions that it performed poorly in both ratings and toy sales, as Toei was planning to make its follow-up, Jetman, the grand finale. Well, that's comforting to know. Ugh. Was Fiveman really that bad? Or could it just be that perhaps audiences felt kind of a Sentai fatigue by this point, given that they had had so many years of shows in a row without a break? I don't know, but let's kick this review off by taking a look at the heroes. The heroes. Fiveman does manage to set itself apart from its predecessors by making the entire Ranger team a group of siblings. This was an interesting dynamic, as it was something the franchise had never explored before. In fact, I don't think any of the Rangers beforehand were ever related to each other at all. Adding to that, the series kicks off with the Rangers as children, living with their parents on an alien world where they are growing flowers to help restore a lost world. The villains attack this planet, separating the Hoshikawa children from their parents as the group returns to Earth with their robot babysitter, Arthur.
博士、お母さん、子供たちはこの僕が必ず立派に育ててみせます。
The show jumps 20 years with the siblings, now teachers, as the villains finally invade our planet. They are Gaku, Ken, Kazumi, and the twins Fumiya and Remy. Toshiya Fuji, Kei Sirachiya, Kazako Miyata, Ruhei Kobayashi, and Megumi Sakita portray our sibling teachers, as they are known as in Japan.
お前たちがいつの日か必ず地球を攻撃してくることを予想し、俺たち兄弟5人
Those of you who have watched Kaku Ranger may recognize Sakita as the cherry blossom member of the flowery Konuchi gang. She also married her co-star Kobayashi, the man who played her twin brother. And here I thought it was just weird when they made Power Rangers Megaforce have the Black Ranger having a crush on the Yellow Ranger, when in the Japanese version Ghost Ranger, they were siblings. No words. I have nothing for that one. Being that they are all related to each other, no ranger really has more development than the other, although I do feel like Remy had the most episodes dedicated to herself, which is why she ended up being my favorite of the group. It also helps that her episodes wound up being some of the best ones in the entire show. She has a great outgoing personality, yet if you piss her off, she will not hesitate to kick your ass. It doesn't matter if she is drunk or just having a bad day, she will go all out in a fight if required. The biggest lament for both her and her brother is that they were barely a year old when the team lost their parents, so they have no actual memories of them. This allows her to be easily tricked when it comes to meeting someone claiming to be her mother.
母さんのことだな。本当ならもっと年を取っているはずじゃないか。
そういえばそうね。
あれから20年だもんな。
そんなあの人が母さんじゃないというの？
That's stupid.
My second favorite ranger ended up being Kazumi, as she had just as many kick-ass episodes. Although there was one where she seemed quite, well, gullible. Kazumi is the eldest sister, so she treats everyone, even her older brothers, like they are her own kids. She cleans up after them, makes sure they are on the right track on life, scolding them when necessary, and so on. However, there is a moment where one of the villains tricks her into being more girly to get her to reveal her family's weaknesses.
一番上の兄さんってとっても強い人なんだろ？
でも学兄さんにも弱点はあるわ。
例えば？
私たち兄弟に優しすぎるってことと幽霊かな。
She comes to suspect the man she started going out with as being a monster, but still proceeds to be careless in her endeavors around him, then acting somewhat shocked when the man does indeed turn out to be a monster.
嫌いなものはカメレオンね。やっぱり合心銀河投資。本当は疑いたくなかったの。あなたが合心銀河投資だ。
You're stupid.
This is in contrast to several episodes earlier where she put her life on the line to defend her brethren from a horrifying bee monster, nearly getting herself killed. It just didn't make sense as to why she was fearless one minute and then careless the next, despite stating the obvious. Gaku is of course the leader of the team, being that he is the oldest sibling. He laments the loss of his parents and feels he has to put all of his feelings to the wayside in order to be the strong brother his younger siblings need him to be. He does have some solid fights with the villains throughout the show, but there isn't much to him outside of being the tough Red Ranger archetype. The same goes for Ken, who is my least favorite of the team. He's not exactly bad by any means, as he does have his moments to shine, such as when he defeated a monster without transforming, just to show one of his students that you don't need to have superpowers to be courageous. It's just that I often forget he is there, as he seemed to have the least amount of episodes revolving around him, which is not how your second in command should be. Lastly, there's Fumiya, who is the exact opposite to Ken. Fumiya is often careless, easygoing, will spend countless amounts of money,
あなたの場合はね、無駄遣いが過ぎるの。
and is an expert linguist when it comes to alien languages. I'm not kidding. There's an episode where an alien child comes to Earth to make some money. Hold up there, Whizpig. Shouldn't you be in school? Fumiya talks to him, and together with Kazumi, they help the kid learn how to add.
鉛筆が2本あるわ。そこへもう1本足すと、はい、全部でいくつになるかな？
Not really sure how he knows how to talk to aliens in alien languages, but the plot requires him to, so he does.
2機落とした。また2機落としたのは全部で何機？
There's another episode where Fumiya gets himself brainwashed by one of the villains who pretended to be a woman with the same name as his mother.
私の名前、行方不明のお母様と同じなの。
はい。優しいところなんかもきっと同じだと思います。
Stop being stupid.
Like the teams before them, the Rangers have your standard Sentai-ish weapons. I do like that Arthur ends up becoming the bazooka to defeat the villains with, as this is the first time a robot sidekick actually had some legitimate use outside of just being a babysitter or mentor. Unfortunately, for as innovative as this is, they don't use him very often, especially later in the series when they go back to the standard Sentai ball attack trope.
見せてやるぞドッジボール兄弟の必殺技
Another addition to the team is that they gain a power-up form. Of course, you would never know this given how rare they use it. And even when they do, they don't make a big deal out of it. Sure, I'm glad it didn't become some gimmick as more recent series have done, but you would think a big deal would have been made out of the franchise's first power-up form ever. It's not, so there's really nothing more to say about it. It looks cool on what's an already impressive costume design. Speaking of which, I love the earrings on the pink and yellow Rangers. Other than the aforementioned Arthur, there really isn't much to the supporting characters. Most of the episodes just revolve around a child of the day plot, and the only adults tend to be their parents, if there is one at all. Not exactly the most exciting bunch, especially considering Soda has done better in the past. The villains. As if the lack of a good supporting cast for the Rangers wasn't bad enough, the villains don't really fare all that much better. Our evil group is called the Galactic Imperial Army Zone. They're led by their Empress Meadow, who looks like someone is sticking their head through a cardboard hole.
生かしておくと必ずや災いを残す。何としてもこの星もろとも抹殺せよ。
Come to think about it, the main villain leaders were not exactly Soda's strong point. A lot of them were just lame, sometimes feeling like a Final Fantasy villain. Their goal is to make Earth Zone's 1000th conquered planet. Toei loves their 1000 goals for their villains. Zone is made up of their captain Garoa, occasionally drunken warrior Billion, the scientist Dodora, her servant Zaza.
Checking in with the morning report.
Oh, Zaza, not Zazu. And the accountant Dongaros, whose name sounds like a villain you would run into in a Zelda game. Unfortunately, there's not much to these characters as far as motivations or development goes. They're pretty much the same villains in the first episode as they are in the last. Also, like the tone of the show, the villains can be very polarizing. Garoa starts out as this no-nonsense villain that will kill first, ask questions later. He wants revenge against Gaku because when they first encountered the Hoshikawa family, Gaku scarred him. This leads to some pretty badass battles against him in the show's first half. In the second half, however, well, at least we did. I'm sorry. This is so stupid. Oh my god. I'm not trying. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's just so stupid. Him being basically on toilet duty. I guess I should just be happy I didn't have to put up with any fart jokes like modern day Sentai series do. It's pretty degrading and diminishes everything the writers have done with the character in the earlier half of the series. Billion is my favorite of the group as he manages to be a main player in some of the show's stronger episodes, also taking part in some of the better fights, though ends up just being a one-dimensional character by the end of the show.
奴らは学校の先生をしている。そしてその子供たちを愛している。そこに付け入る隙があるのだ。
There was a lot of potential that could have been done with him, especially when a woman comes to his aid in an episode.
戦うお前は美しい。もう一度変身するのだ。俺のために、いや、地球の平和のために。
Regrettably, that ended up being nothing more than a single episode plot when it could have been an entire arc.
そしてこの星をメドウ様に捧げるのだ。
The rest of the villains are barely worth mentioning outside of a star player who comes out of retirement from sheer boredom named Chevalier. He served Zone years ago and earned his right to leave the army. Being that Japan doesn't understand the concept of retirement, he comes back to help Zone conquer the Earth and reclaim his title as Zone's commander.
我々はファイブマンを倒し、その基地を壊滅するために最後の作戦に取り掛かるのだ。
相変わらず威勢だけはいいな。
口数の多いやつに黙って見てるかい。
This causes a lot of tension between him and Gorowa, yet nothing really comes out in the end. He's just another face in the crowd. Chevalier is played by Flash Green himself, Hachiro Umura.
貴様らごとこのマルガイア初代艦長シュバリエ様にかかれば敵ではない。ここにまた一つ腐敗の神話が生まれるのだ。
Zone has two sets of grunts, the first being your traditional Sentai ones named Bachelor. The only positive aspect I have to say is that I did somewhat enjoy an episode in the show where Zone for some reason has an opposite day, and the Bachelors become the commanders of the day.
逆さまでの今日一日、お前たちの地位は全て逆転し、バツラー兵がトップとなる。何事も全てバツラー兵に従え。
Why there is an opposite day, I do not know. It just led to some pretty funny sequences, though this was the first episode that really kicked off the pathetic version of Gorowa.
ガロは今日中にファイブマンを倒せ。さもなくば死刑だ。何年にと言わんかい。お願いします、小金銀様。
The second set of grunts are a team of creatures called Gingamon.
聖獣戦隊ギンガマン
Stop. I already did that joke in my Gingaman review, there's no point in repeating it. They pretend to be a heroic ranger team early on until it is revealed that they are a part of Zone.
みんな騙されていたんだ。奴らはみんなゾーンなんだ。
Later, they become the main servants to Chevalier.
帰ってきたぜバルガイア。
Like with the grunts, there are two types of monsters of the week. The first one, known as Galactic Warriors, are beasts that come from other planets. They're nowhere near being my favorite monsters of the week, yet there are a couple of designs I do like that include Kondoragin, Kabutogin, the circus clown Lyogin, a perverted land shark, an assassin named Killer Queen,
She's a killer queen, got that agility.
and this badass looking cricket.
You're in my world now, not your world. And I got friends on the other side.
Ultimately though, they are pretty forgettable monsters. Yep, I forgot them already. Except for this pig monster.
ファイブマンを倒したかったらもっと金をよこすずら。貴様、いやこのゴツくばりめ、あと一歩というところで。
Oof. For some reason I did not forget him, and I really wish I had. But then again, I'm in a mood for bacon suddenly.
Why not? Bacon's just that good. Bring on bacon. Bacon chicks, bacon glasses, bacon braces, bacon trousers, bacon socks, and bacon brassieres.
As for the second set, they are called Fused Galactic Warriors, as they are two warriors that have been fused into one being. I'm not the biggest fan of the combined versions, as they tend to look butt-ass ugly. All it really looks like they did were cut two suits in half and then sew them together. The first was the pog-loving Gory Washington due to him being incorrectly fused thanks to an incompetent Gorowa.
なんやそのまんまゴリラ人やお前んか。
Gorowa has the fusion skill sets of Hugo from The Simpsons.
I made a pigeon rat.
Oh, the Pogs? Yeah, this episode seems to promote Pogs for some reason. Jim Sterling would be proud. Except he didn't do that. As for the other, he sounds like it was ripped out of Mega Man X, whose name translates into Electric Catfish. Instead of growing like traditional monsters, Dodora had created giant-sized Baymaxes that absorb the down monsters to become them.
ゴルリン7号は細胞活性エネルギーを放射吸収することによって自らの体を隔離して巨大狼ルギンに再生復活することができるのだ。
It's an interesting idea that does occasionally provide some hilarious results. That is probably without a doubt the greatest growing monster scene, or what was supposed to be a growing monster scene ever. The Mecha. For the first time in a couple years, not every ranger has their own individual mech, as 5 Robo is just a combination of 3 mechs. These machines are a plane, a trailer, and a pseudo tank. The design of 5 Robo isn't anything special, as it kind of resembles a retooled Flash King to me. Adding to the Ranger's arsenal is Star 5. Don't let that name fool you though, as he is more like a 2-star machine. Star 5 is a spaceship that transforms into a red-colored bot and is able to combine with 5 Robo to form Super 5 Robo. Lastly, Super 5 Robo can also combine with the Ranger's base Magma base to form Max Magma, whose design I really like. He just looks like he is ready for war, though he is unable to actually walk. Aside from the less than stellar designs, the mech battles themselves are decent. I never found myself bored by them, as there are some pretty cool fights. It also helps that not every episode has a mech battle, as I previously showed with the Baymax that falls to the ground. We also get to see some interesting things happen when a Baymax is stopped from merging with a monster that doesn't want to cause havoc. Effects and music. While I will never truly deduct points from an older Sentai show in shoddy effects, I do need to mention that Fiveman has what is probably the weakest production values of Soda's entire career of Sentai. Outside of a couple battles, there isn't really much in the way of camera work as seen in the likes of Changeman and Bioman. Those really kick-ass tracking shots I grew to love during his era are non-existent with this show, which is a real shame since this is Soda's grand finale. The lack of interesting camera angles and shots is a bummer, but the show does still have some good fight choreography, especially when it comes to Remy. Although, the best fight in the show might be between Gaku and Goroa when he was still a credible threat. There was also a moment dealing with a monster that could freeze things, where they used a blue filter over the video, which was quite cool.
素晴らしい。とんかつで復活だって。
銀河投資轟銀は身も心も凍らす冷気を吐くんや。人間どもはぬくもりを忘れ、喜びを忘れ、愛を忘れ、氷のように冷え切ったただの生ける屍とか。
On the other hand, we do get a weird edit like this. If you have previously watched Zyuranger, you will most likely recognize Akihiko Yoshida's composition here. While it doesn't sound exactly like the music present in Zyuranger, there are a few tracks that you will most likely recognize. I do like most of his work here, as it tends to fit the show more often than not. Now here is something I found interesting. Listen to Metal's theme. Does it sound familiar to you? If so, you might be a Sailor Moon fan. This very track was reused in Sailor Moon Super S for the season's main villain Nihilinia. Now, I saw Super S long before I had watched Fiveman, but I instantly recognized that track the moment I watched Fiveman, as I found it to be one of the more memorable villain themes from Sailor Moon. At first I thought Super S must have been composed by Yoshida as well, but it was done by a man named Takanori Arasawa. This raises my eyebrow a bit because it makes me wonder if Arasawa plagiarized Yoshida's track or if Toei just reused it themselves. Obviously, there's no way to know, and both shows are owned by Toei, but that is something I found to be very interesting. Kosugi Yasao helmed the opening and ending themes, while Suzuki Kenji sung them. The self-titled opening is pretty catchy with its numbered lyrics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and is not trying to teach me math like Go Lion's opening.
1 + 1
The ending, Fiveman Aino no Theme, is pretty good too. It has a good rhythm to it, and it is a great song to end the show with. Its biggest crime is being forgettable. It's not a bad forgettable, it's just not an ending theme that sticks in my head when I'm thinking of various Sentai ending themes. The episodes. I've already said this a couple times throughout this review, but Fiveman is a very confusing series when it comes to its tone. It just doesn't know what it wants to be. It starts out with a really strong, serious premiere, then kind of becomes lackluster a few episodes after for a little while, starts to pick up again, and just when you think things are about to go all out of control, this happens. These puppets have got to be the absolute worst aspect of the show, as this is where everything fell apart to me. Before you shrug your shoulders, wondering what the big deal is, saying, Sentai has always had a goofy episode like this, why do you care now? This is not something that revolves around just one episode. No, these puppets become like the exposition and cheerleading squad for a good portion of the second half of the series. We will have the Rangers in some detrimental battle, only for the camera to cut to these puppets talking about the situation or something, which not only breaks the flow of the action on screen, but also diminishes the seriousness of the battle. It also doesn't help the mustache on the Goroa puppet looks more like a mouth, making me picture Cartman from South Park cosplaying as Goroa.
Alright, that does it. Screw you guys, I'm going home. My mom was so poor when she heard about the Last Supper, she thought she was running out of food stamps. I've got to start hanging out with friends that are a little more intelligent and understand politics and stuff.
It's very distracting and ultimately kills the momentum the show started to have. Maybe you can look past these annoying objects, and if so, more power to you. I cannot, however. Even after they stopped using the puppets, Fiveman was never able to recover my attention, as I had pretty much checked out of the hotel by this point, thus harming my perception of the series as a whole. Moving from one negative point to another, the worst episode in the series belongs to the one titled Orphaned Galactic Egg. In this oh so joyous episode, an egg comes to Earth looking for its father, thinking Dongoros is it. Fumiya is able to relate to the child, being that he too has never actually met his parents, and he starts to protect it. It's just so goddamn stupid, and the high-pitched voice of the baby is annoying. What makes it worse is that it follows the best episode of the series. The only thing missing was someone having a gas mask and asking, "Are you my mommy?" Surprisingly, I actually had to tussle between 4 different episodes to decide which my favorite was, ultimately leaning towards Intoxicate Earth. As much as I love the battle between Kazumi and Killer Queen, Gaku and Goroa, and Remy vs Todorogan, her first focus episode was by far the one I enjoyed the most out of the entire series. It may not be the best fight in the show, but it has by far some of the best fight choreography, as we get to watch a drunken Remy battle both Zaza and Zorugan. Not only that, but she pilots 5 Robo in that episode, meaning that we get to see a mech using the drunken master style of fighting. How could you not find that to be downright awesome? This is easily one of the best mech battles in the history of Sentai. The DVD. It's pretty much your typical Sentai DVD release. We've got the cover, side, back, trays, episode descriptions, and then production work. The video and audio are fine, though there is some slight compression. It's nothing irregular, considering all of these releases tend to look exactly the same as Toei's own DVDs in Japan. The biggest contributor to getting this set beyond supporting another pre-Zyuranger release comes with the English subtitles. However, the subtitles are a bit odd here. Instead of being your standard fare of subtitles, Shout Factory decided to give us a release that was closed captioned instead. The translations are usually accurate, but expect to see a variety of sound effects and character names who are speaking, grunting, yelling, etc. in brackets. It was a bit odd at first, especially since the closed caption portions are quite inconsistent or cause the subtitles to sometimes disappear off screen too quickly. I am just unsure as to why they didn't give us the option to have them appear as regular subtitles or closed captions. There are a couple of episodes on disc 5 where the subs are slightly mistimed.
Welcome, Fiveman. Toku no chorus.
It isn't too bad. The subs appear on screen about a quarter of a second earlier than the dialogue starts.
Mina, しっかりするんだ。ベビー、カズミ。
兄さん、私たちどうしちゃったのかしら。兄さん、みんな。
Nevertheless, there are a few dialogue-heavy areas where it does get frustrating because you have to keep on top of what is being said where. As for the inconsistency, one example includes one episode where they will fully sub what one of the villains was singing, but then in the next just list it as singing in brackets. One hilarity to this whole ordeal with the closed captions is character names will show up to say who's talking before that character is even introduced, leaving you pondering initially who they are referring to. In response to my questions I asked at the beginning of the review, yes, I do believe Fiveman actually suffered because of its poor writing, inconsistent tones, and that Soda was just clearly burnt out on the franchise. The man had been doing this for 9 years, and as we have seen with another series, one person should not run a show for that long. On the other hand, it did have some interesting ideas, such as the fact that the Rangers were siblings. Which is why I am giving Fiveman a generous 3 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. It's not the series Soda fans deserved as his swan song, but at least it enticed Toei to go all out to revolutionize the Sentai franchise through experimentation for the next decade before falling back into a rut. Until next time, bye.
Next time you're gonna get my hopes up, could you please take me to a grease monkey? Cause I like to get lubed up before I get Huh? Some lube would be nice, or at least a courtesy lick, God. How about a little courtesy lick next time you decide to me?